Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Apex Racing TV. And we're here today for round 5 of the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup Benelux 2024. And we're at a brilliant circuit here in the Red Bull Ring, where you can see in the background there's a lot of rain on the circuit, which will make it a very interesting event indeed tonight. And alongside me in the commentary box will be Matthew Duffin. Matthew, welcome back. I mean, we've had 2 rounds since we was last together, so we haven't been here for quite a while. So how are you doing?
Yes, very well. Family dramas outside of this. Obviously, partner is pregnant, so we've had a few issues there which we've had to sort out. Everything is good, but it's great to be back in the commentary box alongside yourself, Nathan. Missed the last 2, like we said, but it's great to be back. Great to be here for some Porsche Cup action. And what a fantastic circuit as well. The Red Bull Ring here in Spielberg. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Like you said, the weather is also going to play a factor in today's race. And spotting was, I think, the term we was discussing off air of the weather today. That means it's a little light drizzle. It's going to get wet. It could dry up. This is going to play for some interesting racing and some interesting tyre calls.
Yeah, it certainly will. I mean, we've been here now for 4 rounds and we haven't had a spot of rain at all yet this season, so it's a bit of a new territory for many drivers. And I mean, this circuit, it might be a short one, it might only have 10 corners, but it certainly is not easy. And we can see, obviously, still in the practice session, so we'll have a look at the standings here after the 4th round. And of course, it is Aaron Barber that leads away on 174 points, so a very big lead indeed over Vince Peters in 2nd place on 135, and then only about 8 points back is Cohen Kloppman in 3rd on 127. And then we have Olapostrop in P4, followed by Benjamin DePape, Matthew Collin, Sebastian Demand, Michael Van Luck, who is our leader in the AM standings, Matthias Teach, and Lucas Romano rounding at the top 10.
Yeah, it's been an interesting championship, isn't it, at the moment? And it looks like that Barber is starting to become a bit of a runaway driver in this one at the minute. Some 29, if not more, points outstanding so far. He's had a good start to his season, and he's looking to continue that fine form later on, isn't he?
Yes, he certainly is. And I mean, the Amstel did as well, Matthew, also looking quite close, especially our top three.
Yeah, our top three looking incredibly close at the minute. Mako Van Look is on 161 points. He's only just ahead of Verstraeten then in second place. He's on 144, making it incredibly close. One result either way, one poor result and one good result could really switch out on its head. But then you've got Clays as well. Steve Clays in third place, 127 points. He's not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. And for the three of them to have a bad result, well, then you've got that of Bayet and Dekkers in fourth and fifth, who aren't a million miles off the back. It's Jean Van Limt in P6 with Christian Collin. Kevin Sofro in P8. Down then is Mathieu Sophie with Anton Dupin rounding out the top 10. And it's been an interesting championship so far to see this. I'm just looking at the results in front of me here between that top three of the drivers there. It's gone a different way each sort of track at the moment. The only real one consistent has been Van Look, who has taken maximum points several occasions this season. But he's had a 0-point finish at Hockenheim in the second race. He had a poor start at Zandvoort, which has allowed the other two to stay within touching distance at the moment.
Of course, and as we had last time as well, we do have another giveaway here for some of the KGL Sim Racing gloves. Now, Phantom Grip Black gloves, really nice gloves indeed. So make sure to go to the digitrackschallenge.com/giveaway so you can register yourself into the giveaway. Of course, it does end 1 hour after the race, so you haven't got that long to get yourself involved and try and win yourself some KGL Sim Racing gloves. I know that a couple of weeks ago we had some of the, I think it was the Edson Senna edition being given away, and very nice gloves indeed. So make sure to get yourself over there and check those out. But of course, still a few minutes to go here in this practice session, and I mean, I think normally the dry conditions quite easy to get used to. Most tracks, most of the drivers have driven multiple times, but going into the wet, something that's also quite new to iRacing, this practice session probably means a lot for most of the drivers in the grid, I think.
It's going to be about track recognition. Everybody's going to know how the Red Bull Ring is and how these Porsche Cup cars work by now. But what they don't know is, like you say, these conditions. It's very new to iRacing this year, the wet weather, so it depends on the running they've had in these Cup cars around this circuit. And as you know, Nathan, a bit of wet weather around any track changes the dynamic of that circuit. You're not taking the same lines, you're not taking the same braking points. So you really are then having to find the grip. We're just seeing here with Vince Peters just taking a wider line through the sort of chicane area on towards the back straight before the penultimate corner. Just seeing him, you can see how twitchy he is on the steering wheel as well, getting the power down also.
Of course, and you can see, Peters, second in the championship, has taken, I think, 4 wins this season, and at the moment is 1.4 seconds off, which is definitely where we don't expect to see Vince. So maybe a few drivers as well haven't had that much practice in the wet, hence why they're a little bit off the timings. As you can see there, Peters didn't even improve on that last run, as we do see Romano go up into P8 here, as we've just got over 2 minutes left of this practice session, and Cohen Klopman is at the top with a 141.571. Of course, he sits third in the standings, and he's only 8 points back from Vince Peters. So a P2 and a P1, and a P9 would really change that battle for second place, and maybe the battle for first, because we haven't really seen much of Aaron Barber in this session, have we?
No, we haven't at the moment. Don't think he's put a lap time in from what I'm seeing on the timing screens at the moment. But also, just to go back on to Peters here, is if that spotting rain that is coming down, he may have not got out on the driest part of the circuit as of yet. We don't know what the weather's been for the previous hour since coming on air, so the track may have been at its best or better earlier in this session when Klopman set that lap time. So for Peters, like we've just said, it's a learning curve, and he's got to find his form. You've just seen how wide he is away from the apex of the corner. I might be just to find the grip and get the run through the corner that he needs. I managed to be in the Apex Racing studio. Whoa, big moment there as he hangs on to it, and I managed to have a go around Spa in the Toyota GR86 in the wet for a different event. And it is a different ball game in the wet compared to in the dry, and these guys are going to have to work hard tonight for this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every sim racing game has a bit of rain. iRacing was very late to introducing it, but they did such a good job. You know, it's difficult. It's not easy to just get onto some wet tyres and get onto a wet circuit and put some quick lap times in. It really does take a lot of getting adjusted to, and I think as well, you kind of have different groups of drivers. Some drivers are really good in the dry, but hope it's in the wet. And it can be the other way around. Some drivers love a bit of wet weather, a really twitchy car, struggling to drive it, but then in the dry conditions, they just can't push the limit. So I think that's something we can also see here. We might see some drivers that maybe never been on the podium, never had a top 5, get up to those positions there just because they're a bit familiar with the wet conditions and they prefer to drive in them. But, I mean, out of all cars to drive in the wet, this is one of the worst because it's such a difficult car. I spoke to lots of people who are, 5, 6 plus iRacing, and they all say the Porsche Cup's a really hard car to drive. And in the wet, surely that makes it a lot harder.
The wet separates the boys from the men, doesn't it, so to speak? And you really do get to find out who is a top driver. And like you say, if they've not necessarily won a race this season, there could be dramas or throws and spills that could lead them to win that race. And you're right, we see the Porsche Cup car. Obviously, us in the United Kingdom, we're very fortunate to see the British Touring Car Championship that have the Porsche Carrera Cup, which is what these cars are. And no traction control, no ABS, very, very loose cars, very twitchy cars in the dry. Then you go and throw this weather in the mix, and it's going to be interesting. The spray's going to be an interesting factor. I'm not sure if we're able to get an onboard shot of a car following another at the moment, but the spray for me is going to be an interesting factor to see what the visibility is possibly going to like. Not too close at the moment. You can see it's not really affecting the visibility of the driver we're on board with right now. But if he's a little bit closer, that visibility is going to play another factor. And that come the race, not necessarily qualifying, but come the race, when you've got multiple cars around you, that is really going to have an effect.
It certainly will. I mean, we've got over 20 drivers here tonight, so when they're all headed up towards turn 3 up the big hill, it's really going to cause some upsets, I think, heading into that braking zone. And I mean, this track, it's a really difficult one because you've got a heavy braking zone at turn 3. You've got no ABS. You've got, obviously, the wet weather. That's going to be difficult to manage. And then, of course, turn 4, another really tricky braking zone. And then you're heading towards turn 6 and 7, the double left-handers. You've got to make sure you can get the car turned in without losing the rear and also being able to apply those brakes without locking the rear wheels and going round. So it's certainly going to be a challenge here as we are on board with one of the drivers heading through in towards turn 6 now, and you can see the spray is there, and of course heading into the slower parts it's a little bit easier to see, but on some of those back straights it's going to be very difficult to kind of figure out who's in front of you, because when you got 10 cars in front of you all with spray, there'll be a few there which you probably didn't even know were driving in front of you.
Yeah, and this is going to be the big thing. You're judging your braking points, especially in the race. You can just see the visibility there. Look, you can barely make out that car. Look in the slipstream. You can barely make out what that Porsche Cup car is in front at the moment. We're on board with Matt Strand coming into the penultimate corner. And this track is very unique. Like you said, heavy braking zones into 1 and 3. Then you've got that middle sector, which is different. A bit more of a flow to the middle sector than the first and last sector. So it is such a different circuit. You've got to adapt to that on the brakes as drivers are coming to start their first flying lap times now, or maybe even finish their first flying lap times as they'll start to cross the line. Matt Strand is now just starting his first flying lap. Everybody's out there on the circuit apart from Ryan Walker at the moment, whose name is greyed out on the time screen, meaning that he is still in the pits for the time being. But it's going to be an interesting race to see who's going to take pole position here as Verstraeten then coming down towards turn 4. And you can just see that cautious approach, can't you, into there? You're normally kind of taking it a bit quicker, trying to brake as late as you dare and getting the nose to dip down and turn in at turn 4 as the corner drops downhill. But you just see how patient Verstraeten was there, and that's probably why, as that isn't Romano going off. Not sure if that is who's off, but yeah, drivers just being a little cautious here and there through these sections.
They certainly are. I mean, we've got many drivers now on actual runs. I think a few people have had a few off tracks, but most of them are looking to try and complete this first run rather quickly, as we're just watching Lucas Romano and in towards turn 9 now here with Vince Peters looking to try and see if he can try and do a little bit better than he did in the practice session. Of course, it was 1.5 seconds off the pole position time as Chloe Klockman goes to the top there with a 1:42.456, and we'll see many more times coming down. Erin Barber there by a second over Klockman. Van Luck goes up into third there, just half a second back from Chloe Klockman in the number 16. There are many more drivers looking to set their laps then. I believe that might have been an invalid lap there by Vince Peters as he did cross the line, but no time went onto the board. That certainly is not looking good for him.
no, not looking good for him already. 4 minutes into this 20-minute session, and the bonus is it is a pretty easy lap to then go back round and make it onto a valid lap time. But what you have got to do is you've got to make sure that you don't invalidate again, because the more that time ticks away, the less time you've got to set that valid lap times. We're seeing even more times come onto the screen now. But Barber there, that is an impressive lap time, 9/10 of a second quicker than Klopman, and we didn't really see a time from him in practice, did we? So for Barber there, he's clearly had the test in the wet weather in this car around this circuit, because he knows where the limits are and where the grip is. 9/10 of a second, that is a huge margin in these conditions.
Of course, so with a 39-point gap in the championship, this is perfect here for Owen Barber to be ahead of both Klopman and to be ahead of Vince Peters in the qualifying session, as that will be Colin going up into third place there, 1.2 seconds off with a 1:42.773. Obviously, Matthew Cullen has had a bit of an up and down season. He had, I think, a podium back in round one, but then since then hasn't scored that many points, and of course wasn't here with us back in Hockenheim, so looking to return again and try and score some decent points for the Digitrack Sim Racing team, as well as we see as well Van Luck, a driver that really should probably be in the Pro Championship, not in the AM Championship, as he's currently sitting in that P5 slot there, as Postrup goes up into third. Van Luck now goes up into P4. Peters there 1.3 seconds off in P5. I think one thing we'll see now for the next 15 minutes is times constantly coming down, people constantly switching positions, because the track, of course, might not get drier, but it's going to get a little bit warmer when the drivers are just going to be going full blast into some of these corners.
Well, this is a message now for Joshua, our producer, who's in the background. The timing screens is saying cloudy. Has the rain actually stopped on the circuit? Which means for the next 15 minutes, this track there, I don't think it has from that point of view, but the timing screen saying cloudy. If that's the case, would that mean then that if the timing screen's right and it is cloudy and the rain is maybe stopping just for the time being, that track's going to improve and get better and better and better? If it doesn't, and the timing screen where it says cloudy is not accurate, then that would mean that this rain is going to be that this track is going to get wetter and wetter and wetter, and we have possibly seen the best times.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be a weird one, as we did see there Klopman improve to just under 7/10 off of Erin Barber, and then DePape as well up into third place. Not often seen DePape up in the top three, so a very nice lap from him there, as Van Leent goes up into P18 ahead of Steve Clays. Of course, Steve Clays third in our AM Championship, so we'd like to be a little bit higher than 19th in the field. And of course, we've still got a few drivers that haven't set a time, as Kevin Deckers there goes up into 20th place, 3 seconds off. So we are starting to see a big disparity between times here for many drivers, as Sebastian Demand there has a mistake at turn 4, and so will not be improving on that lap, as we do see Postrup now jump ahead of DePape and Klopman as well, now just within half a second of Erin Barber, who also found an improvement to a 1:41.3, and I think yet again it's looking like it's going to be the Erin Barber versus Cohen Klopman show.
It does seem to be that way. Peters has just improved as well to within 1.1 seconds of the leader. But here is Karen Klopman, the privateer, who's coming up towards turn 3 now. The definite dry air line appearing throughout this circuit. So at the moment, it's going pretty well. Again, doesn't look like it's raining too much. It looks like that rain maybe has just stopped a little bit. And this is possibly where we're going to see the times drop down a little bit. The Pape there going up into P3, 8/10 off the pole now. Romano is improving into P7 as well. So a couple of drivers just started to improve. But with that track now going to dry, you've got to think, we've got how many cars in the session? We've got 25 cars in the session. There's only 3 in the pit, so 22 are circulating the circuit at the moment, which is going to clear that standing water. And every lap that goes by, every time they go around, it just clears a little bit more standing water. It makes that racing line dry. You see Colin improve up to P6. At the moment, we're on board with Klopman, just being very cautious, not running the curbs, you'll notice. And you're seeing that's where the puddles are forming, just on the curbs, and that's where it's going to be lethal. Here at the Red Bull Ring, Nathan, you want to kind of extend your entry into the corner, don't you, by opening the corner up over the curbs and the AstroTurf. There is no touching these curbs around here, because you just see there, look, it's just pulled him in and sucked him in there as the water's standing on them curbs and a bit of AstroTurf behind the curbing. Just making it an absolute nightmare out there for these drivers.
Yeah, as soon as you hit the puddles on the curbs, there's nothing you can do at all, as Cohen Klopman there does make a stop, so I presume he'll be heading back into the pits. And going once again here, as we have Yellow Straighten currently P9, P2 in the AM qualifying gap at the moment, 1.5 seconds off Aaron Barber's time at the top, still leading by 5/10 to Cohen Klopman in second place. And I mean, obviously we've got just over 10 minutes left of the session. If the track is going to start drying up, there's no reason why anyone will be finishing their session right before the checkered flag. I think everybody in A will be getting as many laps in as possible.
Yeah.
Because the track will be getting drier. We can see as well, there's a dry line starting to form in many of the corners. Of course, the middle sector looks quite wet, but as you head into the third sector, there is a bit of a dry line there.
There is indeed, and you're right. I think you're going to be a fool to be sat in the pit lane with 10 minutes left. You want to be out there circulating, getting as many laps in as you can. You want to be fueling for 10 minutes, and getting them lap times on the board. And yeah, that track is just going to get drier. You want to be the last person to be setting a lap time here, because that could be when the conditions are at its best, as Van Hoot there moves up into P12 and Philip Portis. We're going to go with Philip Hertz. Thank you very much. He's up into 17th place there, as he's just had his first flying lap of the day. Ryan Walker is the only man to not set a lap time. He is out there at the moment on the circuit, so hopefully we'll get a lap time in. But so far it's Barber still half a second clear of Klopman from De Pape in P3. Here is Ryan Walker, who is coming down to the final corner now. Deckers moves up into 19th place, and on board here, look at that. Just look down the start straight. You can sort of see that left-hand side of the circuit is drying compared to the right-hand side, where it is offline into turn 1. Look, you could definitely start to see that racing line appearing, and you really want to be out there at the very end. Vince Peters has just moved into P2 within 0.2 of a second now of Barber. He's returned back to the pit lane, so he's clearly going to either top up a bit more fuel and get the car maybe ready for 1 or 2 more laps. But he wants to be quick, because you want to be out there.
Definitely. You can see heading up to turn 3, there is pretty much a dry line there, especially on the exit as well, as you get yourself on the power heading down to turn number 4. But yeah, a very nice lap there from Vince Peters up into second place, and only a couple of tenths ahead of Cohen Klopman, who's still in third. So going to be a very interesting one between those three at the top of the timings. 5/10 separates our top 3, as we do see Ryan Walker heading to turn 4, a little bit deep, gets back on the power nice and early now, heading round turn 5, and then of course switching back to the left in towards turn number 6, and then of course turn number 7, obviously running a little bit wide, but not trying to hit that curb too much, as it's still going to be a little bit soggy. Then of course yet again another left into turn number 7, just got to be careful and try not to hit that puddle on the apex, and then heading through to the right hander at turn number 8. Looking decent here for Ryan Walker, and the track certainly finding those improvements, as we do see a few more drivers looking to try and improve on their lap times. Into turn 9, the penultimate corner, a little bit wide there by Ryan, hopefully doesn't go off track, and then into turn 10 you can see a bit of a slide as Lucas Romano goes up into third place at the moment, so very nice for him, and we'll see what Ryan Walker can improve to. Currently in P23, just over 3 seconds off now, goes up into P16.
Yeah, heck of a lap that from Ryan Walker to find such an improvement. He's 2 seconds off the pole at the moment, and he's bailed on his next lap, so he will get a chance. Klopman now moves up into P3, with Van Luck going up into P5. Half a second separating that top 5 at the moment, so pretty good from the top 5. And this is where, Nathan, like we've said, you want to be out on the circuit, you want to be circulating, because this track is getting better and better and better every single lap that goes by. Just looking, 1, 2, 3 cars in the pit lane still, so 23 circulating at this stage in the session. And we're on board with Dupan, who's had a moment there, and that was coming again out that final corner, where you kind of are naturally going over to the curbs, aren't you, on that outside line, and that is really causing a bit of a havoc for a few of these drivers. You're just seeing some standing water on the curbs, where getting a bit twitchy and a bit loose on the rear if they're putting the power down too much on them wet curbs in AstroTurf. The cars are not agreeing with it.
Yep, definitely, but I think it's something we'll see a lot through this qualifying session. A few cars having a spin, because everybody wants to kind of learn when and where they can push, and obviously you've got to test some of those curbs to see if it is, you're able to drive on them, because maybe you could find some time, but of course you could certainly lose some time as well. As we do see Colin go up into P9 there, just over a second off the time from Erin Barber, and I think the thing that makes that lap time better, the 41.3, is that was set at the start of the session when the track was wet. It's getting drier, and that time is still pole position. So once Erin Barber gets back out again and gets another competitive lap on the board, he could be into the 40s possibly.
The other argument to that as well, though, is, excuse me, he's not beat it himself, and he's done 6 laps. So has he hit a good moment? Obviously the traffic is going to play its biggest part, and when it is drying, you are going to start to push that a little bit more. You're going to start to test the boundaries a little bit more. Here's Barber down in towards the final corner. There you see the standing water and how tricky that is, and that's why drivers are having problems on the exit of the final corner. But for Barber here, like, traffic's going to be an issue, but also is he just pushing a little too much that he's maybe invalidating laps as it is drying out. The rain has started to fall again here. There you see one of the drivers round in the background. Not many lap times are being improved now that the rain is once again falling. So very tricky for these drivers, and this is what the weather's going to be. It is going to be sort of stop-starty on the rain throughout the whole race, throughout the whole evening here on the Apex Racing TV channel. And this is a bit of a look back, I do believe, on what has happened to Peter through the middle sector. Just trying to touch the curb on the outside. There you go, turns in, and it just does not want to grip. The car does not want to comply with what he's asking it to do, and that's going to ruin your lap and cost you your entire lap. You've got to go again. This is back there with Ollie Postrup, P3 at the moment. Peters has got within 2 thousandths of a second of Barber. Postrup is now within a 10th of a second. So Vince Peters, well, he started to improve here towards the end of this session. Postrup's going with him as well.
Of course, and I mean, Cohen Klopman, who was quickest in practice in the wet conditions, has been one of the quickest here overall. He's 4 tenths off at the moment, so a lot of pressure here on Cohen Klopman, as that's a couple of drivers going deep at turn 4. Vince Peters going very deep, and I think just getting caught a little bit off guard by that car that also went deep into the braking zone, as we do see more laps being completed there. Klopman with a 42.0, that's a few tenths off his personal best, so we'll be probably looking to go again, as we've got just over 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session. The rain has started but stopped again as Vince Peters has a spin at turn number 8 and manages to collect it. Now that was slick indeed. Yeah,
that was slick indeed. That was a heck of a moment though for Peters through the middle sector. He's now going to need to get out of the way because he's got a car just behind him that's going to want to be coming through. No, he's bailed on his lap time, so Vince Peters will be able to go and get 2, maybe 3 at a push laps left in this session. And the showers are just coming and going, and this is going to play really interesting into the hands of Barber if that rain is to start to fall and make that track just a little bit wetter once again. And that racing line just starting to disappear once more through that middle sector. Down the hill here, you can just see, look, it has got a bit wetter there. It's not as much off the curb as what it was a couple of laps ago. So again, the rain falling, just starting to put the racing line back under a bit of moisture at the moment, and that's probably what caught Peters out through the middle sector as Colin improves up to P6.
Of course, and I mean, I think we're seeing rain on different parts of the circuit, because there was a little bit of rain there heading down towards turn 1 on that back straight, but then in turn 8 where Vince Peters was when he had that spin, there was no rain at all. So that's going to make it really tricky for the drivers, because some parts of the track are going to be a lot wet than others, and obviously also some parts of the track are going to be drying up quicker than others. As we're just on board here with Matthew Collin, heading up to turn 3, a little bit deep on the brakes, but gets back on the power nice and early now, heading down towards turn number 4, as that'll be Cohen Klopman to the top there with a 141.294. So we said he was under pressure, and it seemed that pressure didn't get to him that much, as he does go now onto that provisional pole position with just over 2 minutes to go. We've got a real fight here, I think, between our top 4 for pole.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one, and like you say, the interesting thing is where this rain's coming from. It may only hit a certain part of the circuit. We are in a mountain, let's not forget as well, so it's going to be very difficult to see what that weather does. We know at the Red Bull Ring, when it does tend to rain, it tends to hit majority of the circuit. It's not a great big circuit, is the Red Bull Ring, but if it's hitting different parts, that's why we're seeing rain at parts of the track wetter than others, and there you're just seeing the curb just having a little twitch there. Was Peters out the final corner. He comes now, manages to not use the runoff on the outside. Has he improved any on this lap this time around? I don't think he's possibly going to. No, down on that lap time once again. He's going to get one more, maybe even another run in after this to possibly find that time. Klopman is done. He will not get out for another lap time here, will Klopman. So Klopman is in the pit lane. It is between Barber, Peters and Postrup then, to try and maybe take his pole position.
It'll be an interesting one indeed. We'll see what sort of lap times our second, third and fourth can set. Just on board here with Peters, heading into turn number 3 now, as we have Van Link there up into P15, 1.6 seconds off our pole position time with a 42.911. Let's see here what Peters can do. Heading down now towards turn 4, and Barber's done as well. He's gone back into the pits, so Aaron Barber will not continue in this session. So it's all down to Vince Peters here and Ola Postrup to try and take that pole position away as we head our way through into turn 5, then in towards turn number 6 at the left-hander. Let's see if we can find any improvement here for Vince Peters, as he's going to be trying to take that pole position, and he's 3 thousandths away from Aaron Barber, so only 3 thousandths of improvement would put him onto the front row.
It would indeed, and for Peters or Postrup, it's got to be very, very slick on these lap times here. You do not want an error on this lap, as Peters is coming towards the end now of his lap at the moment. And let's see what he's going to do into the penultimate corner. It's not been an improvement, it looks like, on the timing screens as of yet for Vince Peters, but he's trying to improve as much as he can through the final corner. We'll get a bit of slipstream from the car in front just to give him that bit of straight line speed. But no, look, them final curbs have caught him out, and that is going to put his lap to an end. He will get one more run, but his lap's been jeopardised by by the final corner, and the session comes to an end. So he will not get that final up. But for final lap for Cohen Klopman, well, he did it late on, Nathan, but he's managed to take that pole position in great fashion there.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant there by Cohen Klopman, who is on pole position for our first race of the evening, ahead of Aaron Barber, our championship leader, in second place, and then our second place runner-up in the championship, Vince Peters, in third, ahead of Ola Postrup in fourth. And we have Lucas Romano, Matthew Collin, Marco Van Luck, who's leading our AM category, followed by Benjamin Depay, Bjorn Engelen in second for the AM category, and then Matthias Tatij rounds out the top 10, followed by Van Hoot and Strand in our top 12, and then it'll be Oliver Strayton in third, followed by 13th, followed by Kimber Heat in P14. Then we have Jean Van Leet, Gilles Philippert, Sebastian Demand, Kenny Harrimans, Anton Depan and Ryan Walker, our top 20, and then Kevin Safro, Peter Goosens, Kevin Deckers and Simon Van Dijk, our top 24, and then I believe we have Steve Clays and Christian Collin, our full grid here for the first race this evening.
And what a race this is going to provide to be them showers around for the evening. It's going to be an interesting race, to say the least. This is going to be fantastic as we just get ready for the drivers to get their final strategies and final setups onto the car. Heat 1 is the 30-minute race coming your way. And drivers just getting ready to go. They'll have a few moments of preparation to make sure they've got the correct setup loaded, correct fuel on board the car. As you'll start to see cars appearing onto the grid, as we see one there popping up. But this could be anybody's game, couldn't it? This could be anybody's race. We know what turn 1 can be like here at the Red Bull Ring, and with the weather on board, you know, the start of this race is going to be absolutely crucial. Turn 1 and 3 are going to be key here to make sure that no dramas occur to maybe tumble down them standings.
Definitely. And in the chat, guys, of course, welcome to everyone here watching tonight. Let us know who you think could take the victory in this first race here tonight at the Red Bull Ring, and we can see all the cars on our screens. Not long to go now before we head underway for the first round here at the Red Bull Ring. We have 4 and 5 lights, and it will be lights out for race number 1. A brilliant start from our top 2, and also Vince Peters in third, covering off Postrup as they head their way into turn 1. A perfect start there from Cohen Klopman as we head into the first brackets, and you've got to be careful here as we're going to have in 2 and 3 wide moves into a very tricky turn 1 bracket, so everybody makes it through, as we have one car there being tucked onto the inside grass as we went into that first corner, but everybody goes through unscathed now as we head our way up to turn 3. We've got a right battle here for the first place position. Into turn 3 we go, number 2 versus number 3, Barber versus Klopman, as we head our way now down to turn 4. A brilliant start from our top 3. Now we can see Vince Peters looking to try and find a move for second place as we head down to turn 4, and the spray is hitting all the drivers, as we do have someone, I think, having an off at turn number 3.
Yeah, indeed we do, but it's been a great start from the top 3. Postrup trying to go with them here, as we just seen Peters look to the outside of Barber. Had a little twitch here, a good gaggle of cars in the midfield, and to me the track looks a little drier than what it was in qualifying, so maybe that track has just dried a little bit better. Doesn't look as wet as it was a moment ago, but so far the top 3 already putting on a great show, as is the rest of the field. No dramas, more importantly, to speak of as well, and that is the key thing. But Klopman has done exactly what he's needed to do at the start of this race. He's kept in front of Barber, and he's kept Peters and Postrup within touching distance so that they can all keep each other under pressure. This is what happened at the stop, and this is down with Van Dijk towards the back end of the field. Goes into turn 1, just gets a little hot, avoids a few cars, lucky not to be collected by the car behind him, to be fair, and that's why we saw Van Dijk over the curb at turn 1 a little slow.
Yep, definitely. And I think it was Lucas Romano that had that incident down at turn 3 where we did see a car stranded. He's currently down in 25th position, so not an ideal start for him, as we do have a great little battle into turn 1 here. Vince Peters right on the back there, Varian Barber, as we head our way through the first corner, and yet again another run up to turn 3. The slipstream going to be quite heavy here as someone goes wide heading through that first corner. And we'll see here, does Aaron Barber fancy a move for that first place spot as we head our way to turn 3? Klopman goes to the inside to defend. We'll have Barber on the outside as they head their way up to the top of the hill now. A little bit deep there for Aaron Barber, but gets on the barrel quite nicely as they head now down to turn 4 here. And Joran Engelen looking for a move ahead of Van Hoot as they head their way down to turn 4. A brilliant move there by Joran Engelen. There goes second for the AM category, with Marco Van looking P5, but also P1 for our AM category. So a great job from him, as we do see Van Hoot there, I think, looking for a move, but we did see England say no, you're not going to go for that at all, and blocks that inside line heading into the braking zone.
Bit of a drama just behind there, down into turn 4. A couple of cars got caught out under the braking. You just saw them start to be a bit squirrely as they headed into turn 4, and there was contact made between two drivers. Not quite sure who it was. Everything looks like it's picked up. Klopman and Barber are side by side though, coming through the middle sector. Barber kind of a bit of hip and shoulder there, forcing his way through and making sure that door is well and truly open. Peters now has to get out the throttle because Klopman's coming back underneath that of Barber into the penultimate corner, and Klopman can't get the move done. Peters trying to hang it around the outside all over the curb, and you've just seen these drivers take different lines now. That could be where the grip is because of this track drying out a little bit, and Peters and Barber getting up ahead of Klopman. He's lost 2 places this lap, but already now some great racing. Not seeing the rain fall as here's come Peters, pulls out to the inside, has a little look, but he's not going for a move into turn 1. Well, he's just see what is happening. Side by side though is Matt Strand down the order. 4P8 gets past Van Hoot there and moves up another position. Goes a little deep, a little squirrely on the exit, and he's probably lost back out to that one. This is Detage then down the order in 16th place. He's looking to make a couple of moves as well as he's side by side through turn 1, up through turn 2 now, and in towards turn 3 they go, still side by side together. And the racing line nice and dry, you see, or getting drier, you see there, and just getting tired. The rain started to fall, so there we go. So this is what it is going to be all night. So that rain is now falling, so it's going to be the track now starting to get wetter and wetter and wetter, and these two still side by side for numerous corners. They're still going at it. Definitely.
Now into the braking zone at turn 4, we do see the Tige on the inside there, goes a little bit deep into the braking zone, but gets a decent exit. But I think Sofro got a better exit than him, and they'll still continue to battle as Ryan Walker here, battling with, I believe that'll be Heremans for P18 as they head their way into turn 6. Heremans has to go the long way around the outside to try and take that position away from Ryan Walker, and now it's going to start to get squirrely with the wet track getting wetter here at the moment. The rain started to fall down in that middle sector as we do see that gap at the front starting to increase now. Aaron Barber with a 7/10 lead over Vince Peters in second place, and then Klopman in third, followed by Ola Postrup, and that's our top 4 in the championship, sitting first, second, third and fourth, and it'll be the fastest lap there for Aaron Barber, who's at the front of the field. But a very, very exciting first couple of laps, and the Red Bull Ring so far delivering quite well as all. A little bit deep there for Vince Peters, hops onto the curb, and that does give Chloe Klopman a bit of a run heading up to the braking zone at turn 3.
Yeah, indeed it does, and Barber then has done what he needed to do. He's got past Klopman, and now he can head away, and look at that spray. You can't see anything. There's no wonder Peters is just pulling out to be able to see where Klopman is as he gets very close. Bit of a moment there for Barber just on the exit of turn 3, but he manages to keep it all together. Fastest lap last time around, and Barber, Peters, Klopman and Postrup so far doing what they need to do. Klopman here we're riding on board with, and you cannot make out, can you, the cars in front, and it is treacherous conditions here. I've seen it worse, but you know, any spray is bad enough, and you to not be able to make out that car in front is tricky enough. And this is possibly where we're seeing smart driving from these top 4 in fact, because Postrup's not far behind. They're not getting too close to put themselves in danger, or the other drivers.
It was Philip Ayres, I think, has had a bit of an incident. There's actually going to be Peters going wide in turn number 8, and you can see, of course, with the rain coming down, drivers are starting to make more and more mistakes as they're trying to get adjusted to these wetter conditions, and can see now that gap nearly a second between our top two, so a big mistake there for Vince Peters, and of course it's only 8 points between Peters and Klopman in the championship, so this will be a big battle. Of course, if Klopman can get past Peters, it will put it right down to around 2 or 3 points between those two in the championship, as this is a replay heading up to down to turn 4, I believe, with Gilles Philippert here. That's what happens to him into the braking zone at turn 4. You can see the car just does not stop, does it? At all.
It just doesn't want to stop, and it just doesn't want to grip neither. You just see it go straight on, and round it goes into the gravelly, reverses it back a little bit to rejoin at a bit more of a acute angle there, instead of rejoining straight onto the middle of the road. But yeah, just didn't want to stop down into turn 4, and this is the factor with the rain, isn't it? As we can bring you another replay now. This is Van Dijk down the order, coming again down in towards turn 4. And are we going to have a similar moment on his own here, just into that braking zone? It just goes deep, and with that rain falling heavier now, once again, Nathan, is your braking zones are completely different. So where you was braking and being able to brake later and later and later with it drying, you've now got to reduce, brake earlier and earlier and earlier, with it getting wetter and wetter. Top 4 still within a second of each other, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then it's just over a second back from Postrup to Van Luck in P5 at the moment. Vince Peters, we sat there and said about he needs to provide something more in qualifying in the race, because free practice didn't show his possible true potential. Well, he's doing a great job at the moment. Good qualifying and a good race so far. Here is Matthias Detage at the moment, P16 so far into the middle sector. Just looking a little racy at the moment is Matthias. And coming into that middle sector of the lap, and it's interesting, Nathan, in the wet to see the different lines from drivers where they're all trying to find their own bit of grip.
It certainly is, and I think there Corby Klopman has made a mistake, because Postrup now is within 4 tenths, and Klopman's nearly a second back from Vince Peters. So I'm not sure what happened there for Cohen Klopman, as of course still on board here with Detige heading through into turn 10, and now looking at our top 3 here, as we've got a bit of a battle now. Heading up to turn number 3, Postrup on the back of Klopman. We've got Peters on the back of Aaron Barber now, and you can see the spray starting to increase now as they head their way up to the heavy braking zone at turn number 3. Will we see any moves being made? Of course we won't, they're a little bit too far back for now. We'll give it a couple of laps more, and we do see Postrup and Peters close up to their rivals. We could certainly see some dive bombs into turn number 3. We do see Matt Strand as well. They're in P10 having a nice little battle there with Colin for P9, as this is a replay as we head through in towards turn number 9. I think that was when we saw Vince Peters make a move ahead of Cohen Klopman, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this was round the outside. It's a great, brave move as well from Peters, round the outside, finding that grip, the karting line, so to speak. It just had more confidence, didn't he, coming through that penultimate corner there of turn 9. And the top 2 just starting to pull away a little bit from Klopman now. Klopman just making 1 or 2 mistakes to just drop off the back, but Barber's not having it his own way. He's not being able to drop the field at the moment. Last time out, it was actually Vince Peters who was quick. It was actually Postrup who was quickest of the top 4, and they are starting to pull away from that of Van Luck at the moment. So good racing from the top 4 at the moment, turning into a two groups of 2. And Peters now really underneath that rear wing of that of Barber, as the rain, I believe, has stopped again. And look at behind, there's Postrup and Klopman going hammer and tong at the moment, side by side, coming down the start straight. Peters going to have a look up the inside of Barber. No, he's not. But Klopman and Postrup side by side. Postrup, I believe, has the inside line in towards turn 1. And Klopman down to 4th place. Postrup gets the move done.
Brilliant move there by Oliver Postrup into 3rd place, but Klopman there still with a run. Heading up to turn 3, looking to try and take that podium position back from the young Swede of Ola Postrup. Into turn 3 we go. We can see a battle for the lead as well, as we do see Peters going a little bit deep though into that braking zone. You do see a brilliant defence there though from Ola Postrup, keeps Cohen and Klopman behind just for now, and we do see a brilliant battle here for the lead, as we have Vince Peters here on the outside of Aaron Barber for the lead. Peters just about takes it as they head into turn 4, but the inside line should gift Aaron Barber a little bit easier as they head down to the braking zone now. Barber goes deep, Peters makes contact with them, and they go through but somehow Barber didn't go around for a second. It looked like the car was sideways, heading on the exit at turn 4.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the contact wasn't necessarily made by Peters. I'm wondering if Barber got a bit out of shape there, having to hold a tighter line through turn 4. You see there Peters holding a tight line through turn 5, a little squirrely on acceleration coming through the corner, and it's just proving to be a bit tricky as the rain falls once again here at the Red Bull Ring, and Peters then putting the race leader under some pressure at the moment. Collins just dropped down to P11. He's lost several places there. Peters having a look once more at the moment, and a great bit of racing between the two of them, but that contact was definitely through Barber, just having a moment trying to put the accelerator down.
As Peters nearly hits the back of Aaron Barber heading through the final corner. That was a scary moment indeed for our top two as we head our way back down to turn 1, and now we have Klopman now on the back of Ola Postrup looking to try and make a move for third place as we head into the first corner. No one close enough yet to make an overtake, and we'll see what happens as they head back down to turn 3, and Peters goes wide and loses a heap of time as they head out of turn 1, hit that curb, and of course runs really wide, and lucky not to spin the car, as we do see Klopman now looking to close in as well on the back of Postrup. To the outside goes Cohen. Klopman going to look to try and take it the long way round as we head our way up to turn 3. And is it just me, or did the liveries change for a second?
The liveries have changed there for a second. We've got Barber in a red car and Peters in a grey car at the moment. So we believe we have updated the liveries, is what we're being told. So we hopefully will have a bit more. There we go. I believe some of the liveries are coming back to us now. But here's Van Limpt down in 13th place, looking to the outside at the moment of that of Colin, who is coming out of turn 3 down towards turn 4. And I'm just noticing with Peters there on a moment ago where he lost it at turn 1. You're just starting to maybe overdrive the car just a little bit to try and force that move. But at the minute, Van Limpt trying to get past Collins, as Strand has made a move on Van Hoyt for P8. So Strand moving up into 8th position there. And really, all in all at the moment, Nathan, you have to say, great racing from everybody. Good respect, good clean driving from all drivers here in such tricky conditions.
Yep, definitely. And we're not even halfway through this race yet. And of course, we've got another 30-minute race later on as well. So lots of action still to be taking you all through this evening. Of course, we have got a giveaway for the KGL Sim Racing gloves. So make sure to get to the digitrackschallenge.com/giveaway so you can get yourselves involved. That giveaway will close 1 hour after the race or the stream concludes, so you haven't got long to get yourselves involved. A brilliant pair of gloves are on offer, so get yourselves over to that link and try and see if you can have a chance at winning them. Of course, joining the Discord as well, you can get yourselves involved to see who the winner will be as we head back down towards turn 3 with our leaders. This will be Postrup and Klopman still looking to battle for that podium place, and Klopman a little bit deep and goes straight at turn 3. That could cost him a position possibly. So I think it's Marco Van Luck behind.
Yeah, luckily Van Luck not close enough, but that is purely Klopman just getting his braking all wrong and had to hit the brakes probably a little harder than he'd have liked to. He locked up the tyres. You saw it start to get a bit squirrely about into turn 3, and narrowly avoided the back of Postrup, because that could have been disastrous for him if he had ran into the back of third place. But Klopman now just tumbled down the standings a little bit since the start, was holding on to a good lead, and he's just dropped down a little bit, and he's now got Van Luck trying to hassle the back. And hats off to Van Luck though, because he looked like he was being dropped by the top 4 at one stage. He's still hanging on in there, and he's not a million miles away.
I mean, out of all the top 5, he's the closest to anyone ahead of him, that being Cohen Klopman in 4th place. Of course, we do see the gaps starting to increase here, as this is a replay on board with Steve Clays. Heading up to turn 3, he can see nothing. Look at the rain, look at the spray, he can see absolutely nothing. Into turn 3, he makes a send on 3 cars, and I think they're just sped up, so we didn't end up collecting anyone. So very clever there from Steve. Comes back onto circuit and, well, he gained a position technically by going off the track, so we'll see what happens with that one. But luckily, just decided to go full at turn 3, so we didn't end up colliding with the cars.
And that's what we said in qualifying, wasn't it? The spray in the race is going to be disastrous there, as who's that wide? Believe that was Van Luck, yeah, who was very wide. We said it in qualifying, didn't we? But when you're in the race, when you've got multiple cars around you, as this rain's continuing to fall, that spray is getting worse and worse and worse. You know, it's just proving to be very tricky, and he's done very well not to hit the back of anybody. Here's Barber then, in his brand new red and black livery for the second half of this race. He's pulled away from Peters after Peters' mistake, And at the moment, just looking at the lap times, lost 3 tenths to Peters last time around. So Peters showing that he's got a bit of pace here in this one. But Barber can manage what he's got at the minute, 1.3 seconds. You just wonder if there's a bit of damage on the front left of that car, though. And it'll probably only be minimal damage. Not really going to hurt him too much after the contact that these two had down at turn 4. Then.
Oh, Peters!
Peters has gone very, very deep there at turn 5. Oh! And that's a spinner.
Kenny Harriman's having contact at turn 9, and you can see once you get onto that paint, there's nothing you can do. The car just slides across the track, and I think Harriman's went into the pits and called it quits. But Vince Peters looks like he went dead straight into turn 6, but luckily seems to have collected the car. That could have been a big moment there for Vince Peters and for this race. So you can see he's starting to struggle a bit here, but I think that's because he's pushing really hard to catch up to the back of Aaron Barber in the leaders. Deman has dropped down. I think he's had a bit of a spin somewhere as well, as he's dropped down 6-7 positions at the moment, down to P6. In a big shame for him, he was in the top 10.
Well, Peters gained half a second on the last lap. The best lap times was a 43.2 and a 43.1 last time around, but Peters was 1.2 before he went deep. He's now within 9 tenths of a second, so he did something well there. Maybe just the line that Peters is taking through that left-hand bend then. We'll see, but he's back within a second now, so just starting to feel a bit more slipstream from the car in front. That's going to hurt him in the dirty air coming through some of the quicker corners, as he does make a mistake and go deep this time. Runs deep, as does then that of Postrup on the exit of turn 2. Is that rain just getting a little bit worse? Van Luck also looks like he's rejoined from a moment himself at turn 2, so 3 cars at turn 2 all having a moment. Nobody capitalised either. Klopman didn't capitalise on any of that, but very, very interesting as the rain continues to fall.
Yeah, I think the conditions are starting to get a little bit worse here on circuit. You can see there's no dry line at all. There's puddles forming, and you can see it's starting to get darker here. So we've just done just over 10 minutes to go. The track is starting to get worse. Of course, you can see on the screen it's moderately wet now. So it's definitely getting a lot more treacherous, and many of the curbs are going to become lethal to touch as we have a battle here. This is Deman and I believe Walker heading down towards turn number 4. And let's see, Deman on the inside there of Walker, and they make it through. But you can see sliding heavily on the exit now. Ryan Walker's going to be on the outside into turn 6, but I don't think he can quite get his car alongside. So for now he's going to have to concede to that 17th position, but the gap at the front, 2.2 seconds, and Postrup now looking to close into the back of Peters, and also Klopman looking to close into the back of Postrup. So a great battle here for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, I think.
Look at the apex there coming through the left-hand bend there. You've just seen the puddles starting to form at the base of the curbs, where it kind of dips to where the curbing is, and moderately wet. It is definitely getting worse throughout this circuit here at the Red Bull Ring. It is darker as well. This is Postrup on the back now of that of so that's Klopman on the back of Postrup, sorry, as they're coming up towards turn 3. That spray's getting worse as well, and in towards turn 3 they come for the 12th time of asking, and they all managed to successfully get through it. This time a bit of a wiggle there on exit for Klopman as he's trying to put that power down, but Van Luck, your leader in the AM category, let's not forget, he's putting on a fine display here.
Yep, 9 seconds ahead of Joran England in 2nd for the AM category. So as long as Van Luck keeps this clean, there's no way he's going to lose that top position for the AM category. Of course, has I think a 22-point lead, if I remember correctly. Standings there, as we do have a replay here. This is Japan. I believe might be Philip Hertz or Deckers into turn 1 they go, but that'll be Philip Hertz, yes. As Japan goes straight on and completely locks the wheels, but yeah, you can see now drivers are making more mistakes because they're trying to kind of figure out where that perfect braking zone is in some of the corners, but you can see they're heading through turn 8. There's nothing, there's no way you can take that apex as well, because the track is sodden wet. It's puddles fully.
Ryan Walker's just had a moment after turn 2, and yeah, on the power, round the rear goes. This is what we're now going to get. This is possibly the worst the conditions have been all afternoon for them. Does well to not put it in the wall there as he tries to turn it around, but Ryan Walker there having a moment down in P19. And has now got Japan trying to close down on him, but Postrup still fending off that of Klopman at the moment. Lapping very similar so far, although look at Barber's last lap time, nearly a second slower than Peters, so he had a bit of a nightmare lap, and this is opening the door once again, maybe for Peters and Postrup and Klopman, just to close in a little bit and get that little bit closer as this track now, it's getting darker and wetter And this is Detage then down in 11th place, who got past Van Hoot in P12 out the final corner. And this is interesting to see at the moment, isn't it? Because now these conditions are becoming a factor of driver skill and ability.
Yeah, they certainly are. And of course, drivers being able to adapt quickly to these conditions will certainly help make your way through the field, especially if you're in that top 5, top 6, when you're not really that far away from our race leaders, as this is Erin Barber here, our race leader, heading through into, I believe here, turn number 6 at the left-hander, has a 2.3 second lead over Vince Peters and Ola Postrup in third. Of course, sitting fourth in the championship at the moment, so a third place would certainly helping close up to Coburn and Klopman. Of course, I think they're about 30 points apart at the moment, as this is Marco Van Luck in P5 as well. And even though he is in the AM category, he is seed 8th in the overall standings, and a couple of points here could pop him ahead of Matthew Collins, so could be looking to try and close into the top 5 here, could Marco Van Luck, because this is John England in P7 as well. Of course, second in the AM category at the moment, and of course only joining us, I think, last time out in Hockenheim. So of course only on 32 points at the moment, so no championship charge for him at all, but could certainly get within that top 7, I think, in the AM category.
Yep, and it's testament to the AM drivers who's putting on a good performance this season, or if they're relatively new to the last couple of races. It's interesting to see what they're going to be able to do and what they can do. Then this is Bayat down in P9 at the moment. He is third place in the AM category at the moment, and doing rather well. But that gap, Barber to Peters, 2.5 seconds. It's still Postrup, Peters, Postrup and Klopman, who are all together for 2, 3 and 4, and this is the fight to go then. Just coming up to the 7 minutes left mark replay here. This is Steve Clays, who looks like he's going to possibly have a moment to get up in towards turn 2. And yeah, you just see there, look, coming in. Car just does not want to turn it. And this is the problem with these cars, the lack of ABS, the lack of traction. He's braking into the corner, possibly locks up a wheel, and it just doesn't want to turn through, as here comes Ryan Walker under pressure from Deckers behind.
A brilliant battle there between Ryan Walker and Kevin Deckers as they head their way up to turn number 3 here. This could be a right little battle as they head into the braking zone very shortly. P21 for Kevin Deckers, so hasn't been the best race. And if you look at the front of that Porsche, I think he's got a bit of damage there. So, of course, not too ideal here for Kevin Deckers as we head our way with these two back down towards turn 4, but also Postrup's now within 4/10 of Vince Peters, so I think Peters has made a mistake and has allowed Postrup to really close up here and possibly could charge for second place as we head our way into turn 10 at the final corner, back on the power, down to turn 1. Ola Postrup's in a really good position here to try and challenge for a second place. I believe he's had one podium this season, and we're 9th race in. This would be perfect for Postrup if he could take a second place.
It would indeed, and he's not took Klopman with him, so that's more crucial. And my eyes aren't deceiving me. It is starting to brighten up again, and the rain does look like it's stopped here at the Red Bull Ring. So very, very tricky conditions for these drivers. We're seeing Bayat there set his personal best lap of the race, and lap time starting to get back down into that 42s. But Peter's gone deep. He's gone deep at turn 2. Manages to get the car rotated and accelerated out of the corner. But this is now where the drivers are going to find it tricky. These conditions are so challenging here today. Drying, getting wetter, getting drier. Braking zones changing every single lap. You're not doing the same line or braking zone every lap in a row here. And this is really going to test these drivers at the moment then, as you're seeing Peters now just start to maybe pull away as Postrup just hit a puddle or two there. He just saw the rear end want to come out, and that's now Klopman right onto the back of him.
Of course, just 2 or 3 tenths there separating third and fourth, so Klopman's still looking to try and battle for that podium place. Of course, has been on the podium most races this season, I think, bar 2. So it would be, very nice for Klopman to be back on the podium here as we head our way out to turn 8 and through into our final couple of corners here. We're on lap 15, just over 5 minutes to go here in this race, and still Erin Barber leads the way by 2.6 seconds to Vince Peters and Ola Postrup in third, with Cohen Klopman following in behind. And even though Van Luck has made a few mistakes, he's still only a second and a half back from Cohen Klopman here, so looking decent as well for Marco Van Luck in 5th place as we head our way back down to turn 1. I don't think Klopman's done with Postrup yet, as they've got to head through turn 1 and possibly could look for a charge up to turn 3.
Just want to point out Peters' last lap was a 100th slower than the fastest lap of the race. That is where the conditions of this circuit are now. They are starting to improve, and Peters has lost these two as here comes Klopman to the outside of Postrup, heading up towards turn 3. They're fully side by side. Who's going to be best of the late breakers? They just mixed that contact. That's put Klopman wide. Where's Van Luck to have an opportunity to glance here? Not close enough. You're seeing the line is drying again, and Van Luck there, bit of a coming together. They look like he was going to the right, Postrup was coming to the left, and they both just met in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. I think Klopman moved a little bit too early to the right-hand side, and of course that caused that bit of a bounce effect, and it shot Klopman off the circuit at turn 3. Unfortunately, has now lost a lot of time to Ola Postrup as this is the replay. So of course a brilliant exit there from Cohen Klopman now. Pulls to the outside of Ola Postrup on the inside as we head our way up to turn 3, and we'll see what happens once again. As we see Postrup move to the right, Klopman moves to the left, and that bit of contact, and it just bounces Klopman away, and unfortunately loses a lot of time, but luckily doesn't lose the car, because hopping over that yellow curb in the wet conditions is very treacherous. So very lucky there for Klopman to keep that 4th place, and still within, I think, just over a second away from Postrup.
Yep, still in this though. You know, mistakes could creep in and happen as we're seeing Barber then come out the final corner down towards the start finish line with just about 2 minutes 30 left in this race. There's about 2 laps left to go here, and there we see, look, Peters once again setting another PB. Peters at the moment absolutely flying, and was 2/10 quicker than Barber last lap, but he's already 2 seconds behind with them earlier mistakes, and Barber seems to have handled them as it rains again. Look, the rain starts to fall as Collins entered the pit lane here with 2.5 minutes to go. He's pitted from P10, so not sure what's happened to Colin.
Yeah, bit of a weird one, unless he's maybe run out of fuel or possibly got a drive-through penalty here for Matthew Collin. As yeah, I think he has got a drive-through penalty. Certainly not what he would have wanted, especially when we've only got 2 minutes to go in this race. He'll drop down to P14, possibly even a little bit lower here. Certainly not good at all for Matthew Collin, who was, I think, at one point up in the top 7.
Yeah, indeed he was. So not what he would have wanted. Clays is now also in the pit lane, so maybe a penalty there for Clays as well. And there is Matthew Collin at the moment. So Clays is coming in. He's not had the best of days as he is, Clays today. We've seen a couple of moments at turn 2 for him.
I mean,
and yet looks another drive-through.
Yeah, he's 3rd in the standings at the moment. He is Steve Clays for the AM category. So to see him down in 24th and I think 10th overall, bottom of the barrel, he's certainly not the way he would have imagined this to go. As the man, he hits the back of Van Hoot into turn 4. That was a very scary moment. And I mean, we've said that so many times this race. The amount of times drivers came within inches of each other and inches of sending others round has been insane. But it just shows how clever these drivers are and how good they are under racecraft, of how difficult it's been, how close they've been together, and we haven't seen that many incidents due to contact, or at least I think we've only seen 2 drivers DNF from the session as well.
Yeah, I believe we have. This is on board with demand then. Coming up in towards turn number 3. Gets to the outside line. Brakes a bit late. It's a good move on the outside of turn 3, that is, to be fair. Gets in the slipstream of the car in front. Excuse me. Gets in the slipstream of the car in front, and then this is where we're going to see the incident at turn 4 at the moment then. And just a bit later on the brakes, and it just does not want to stop, and doesn't lock a wheel up, but the car just doesn't want to remain still here, does it? It just wants to carry on going through.
What happened to Peters? 4.5 seconds now is the gap to second. I think Vince Peters has made a massive mistake as Postrup's looking to close in for second place. They make a slight bit of contact heading through turn 4. Postrup goes a little bit wide. Peters keeps that second place. And with over 30 minutes to go, I think this might be the final lap of the race.
Yeah, I believe it is. Peters has had a moment somewhere, though, and that's put him now on the back foot. As you've seen Postrup there, just get a little slidey through turn number 5, and in towards 6 they come. This is Peters, who is defending for his life here to hold on. This P2 has a moment again through turn 6 into 8 now, as they come towards turn number 9, and Peters and Postrup going hammer and tong. Postrup's to the outside line. We saw Peters get past Klopman there earlier on, and the up and under maybe for Peters. Big slide for the pair of them. Out the final corner comes Barber, though. He's going to take the checkered flag and win this race. And has Postrup just got a run? Oh, Peters to the line comes Postrup. He's in second place, and he snatches it at the very end there. Postrup ahead of Peters. What a great fight.
What a brilliant battle there to the line. And Ola Postrup gets his best finish of the season and takes a second place in the first race here at the Red Bull Ring. Absolutely brilliant, but still we've got many battles on the field, as this is going to be Van Hoot on to Manning towards turn number 9. No move can be made there. What about into turn 10? Can Van Hoot find a way through? I don't think he can, as we head our way through the final corner and to the line. And yeah, bit of a mistake there for Van Hoot. He'll finish P12 and Datij will only get the top 10. Oh, and I mean, Peters will be so annoyed with that, because it looks like he just about had that covered, but a little bit wide at the final corner. Postrup had a way better run and pulled nearly a 10th clear. Oh, what a battle there that was, and Postrup will be very happy with that result, because that will close him up to Cohen Clubman a little bit more in the championship, as their gap was over 25 points. It'll now close down by a few, so very good there. But look at this again on the replay. Vince goes deep. Ola Postrup gets a way better run and just takes that second place, and there was not much Peters could do there up to the line.
Nathan, I don't know about you, but just watching that first race back, and you think of every time that it stopped raining and the track dried, Peters looked quick. He looked like he was gaining on Barber. Every time it then started to rain again, Peters made mistakes, was full of mistakes, and that's what's cost him P2, maybe even a race win at the end of this one.
Definitely, and you know, Aaron Barber, what a race. 3.4 seconds, I think that's something we should definitely mention. Absolutely superb, and I think we'll see our race results shortly pop up onto our screens, but it was a brilliant race there by Aaron Barber to take the win by 3.5 seconds. I mean, we go into another 30-minute race, and I'm sure we'll probably see Aaron Barber lead the way again, and probably quite comfortably.
Yeah, it possibly will be the race. So it was Barber who won the race, and by, like Nathan said, 3.5 seconds. From that of Ollie Postrup with Vince Peters in P3. Cohen Klopman was P4 from Van Luck in 5th place. The winner of the AM category then. De Pate was P6 with England in 7th place. 2nd place in AM. Matt Strand was P8 from Bayet in 9th place. Running out the top 10 was Matthias de Tejan. And great result really for the podium in the AM category, because Van Luck P5 but leading AM overall. Fantastic result.
Yeah, definitely. Indeed, and of course a big shame for Lucas Romano, who was up in the top 6, had a mistake at the first lap and dropped all the way down to P25, and luckily got himself back into the top 15, so not ideal here for Lucas Romano. And we haven't got long to go before we get our way into the second race, which should be very interesting indeed.
Yep, it's going to be an interesting second race nonetheless here. And just looking at the chat, there was a good amount of enjoyment in there. What a finish. Ollie is the comments in the chat over that one, and really was a enjoyable end to that first race. And I tell you what, the conditions look the wettest they've got. They also look the driest they've been from the free practice and the qualifying session. But my oh my, if this is what's to come for the remainder of the evening, you have to say, though, you have to tip your hat to every single driver out there tonight, because these cannot be easy conditions to drive in. It's getting drier, it's getting wetter. Every lap is different. It's not the same.
As Kevin Decker says, I'm soaked. I'm sure you are, Kevin. Oh, a long race indeed for yourself and many others near the back. A big shame indeed, though, that you couldn't get yourself up into those top positions. And we've also been told as well it's pronounced Colleen, not Colin. So we'll keep that in mind when we head our way into our second race, of course. Just over 2.5 minutes to go till we enter the second race and the final race of the evening. Of course, another 30-minute race to go. But while we have a bit of time, let's talk about next time out. So our final round of the season, we head to one of my favourite circuits, one of the only circuits I've been to outside of Britain, Zolder. What a track that is. Very underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Beautiful circuit, great layout, great corners, great history. I think that because Spa is also in Belgium, we kind of overlook Zolder, and how good the circuit is. What a way to end it. I believe that's later on in the year, isn't it? That's towards the back end of December, I believe, the final race of the season. So a couple of weeks break from now till that, and it's going to be fantastic to see these cars go around there. And again, a circuit that's got a few different corners to it, a bit like this Red Bull Ring. It's got some tight corners. The 3 chicanes in particular are all different chicanes, as well as at the first sector, the first few corners. A bit of a flow to them through the sweeping left-hander, long set of right-handers before you hit that first chicane. anything can happen. And I look forward to Zolder because I think it's going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, it definitely will. I mean, if anyone's just joining us now, this season we've had some cracking tracks. We started it off with Zandvoort, then we went to Spa, Imola, Hockenheim. We're here at the Red Bull Ring, and then of course we have Zolder next time out. So a brilliant calendar we've had this season, and you can see on your screens, of course, we have got a giveaway for some of the KGL Sim Racing gloves. That will be, and we'll see what they are yet again. The Phantom Grip Black Edition, there we are. So of course, head to the digitrackschallenge.com/giveaway and you can get yourself involved. Of course, the giveaway will close 1 hour after the race is completed, so make sure to get yourself registered now, and then of course join their Discord as well if you'd like to get yourselves to see who is the winner. But of course, it's been a brilliant evening so far of racing action. Not long to go before we head back underway again, just over 30 seconds before the warm-up is concluded, and we'll head our way into a second race. Of course, it is Barbara on pole. Then, of course, it will be Ola Postrup starting in second place. And the question is, can Barbara hold the lead again? Because in that first race, it was a really good battle between all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Until they started to make mistakes, Barbara pulled away. If they don't make those same mistakes again, there's no reason why Barbara's going to have to fight with that all the way to the end.
And you look at the circuit right now, again, it looks as wet as it's been. It's dark again here at the Red Bull Ring. So the track conditions are gonna play a massive part into this race. But you're right, Barber, he did such a good job of controlling that race when he took the race lead. He let the drivers around him make that mistake. I think he only come under pressure once from Peters at turn 4, wasn't it, where he had the moment. They just tapped each other a little bit. We saw Peters have good pace when it was dry. The minute it got wetter, it really started to change the outlook of this race as we can go through the grid order.
As it is going to be Erin Barber on pole, once again ahead of Ola Postrup in second place, and Vince Peters in the top 3 ahead of Cohen, Klopman and Marco Van Look in the top 5. Of course, leader of the AMP category. We have Benjamin de Pape in P6, followed by Joran Engelen, Matt Strand, Kim Haidt and Matthias Statij, the top 10. Then we have Sebastian de Man, Van Hoot in P12. Then it'll be Verstraeten, Safro, Romano, the top 15, followed by Colleen, Dupin, Walker, Deckers and Goosenauer, top 20. And then we have Philippert, Colleen again, if I pronounce that correctly, Clays, Van Leeps, Hermans and Van Dijk, our top 26 here for our second race of the evening. And of course, I think, if I remember correctly, that'll be our 10th race of the championship. But not long to go now as everybody is setting themselves onto the grid, and it could be a very interesting start indeed. Of course, Barber on pole this time around. It was Klopman last time. We have on our screens now, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th light here, and we've had a drive-through already as we head our way down to turn 1. A brilliant start from Erin Barber on pole position, and we do see Klopman looking to go up the inside of Peters already into turn 1, who's looking for a move on, and Postrup as well. Into the first corner we go, so Barber's led away very well. We do see many cars looking to battle their way through, people going wide as they head out to turn 1, and I think this time, Matthew, the track is a lot wetter than it was before.
Yeah, it is incredibly wetter than before. It looks darker as well. As look at Peters looking to the outside of turn 3 already. Up the hill he comes, and he's going to go straight on. He's just aquaplaned a little bit there under the braking. It hasn't stopped. He rejoins just in front of what looks to be, I think, Van Look, as everybody coming through turn 3 then. Relatively clean. At the moment, only Peters who went very, very deep there, but that's already put him on the back foot, and already mistakes on this wet surface here at the Red Bull Ring. And look at the light blue and orange car there, straight on at turn 4, all out of shape, coming under the brake in there. And yeah, that's going to really ruin his momentum in this race. He's got a lot of work to make up early on.
Yeah, a big shame there for Sebastian de Man as we see Yellow Verstraeten here heading through in towards turn number 6, and just you can see how slow the cars are having to go. You can see a bit of a reflection on the circuit from the water. It's that wet as they head their way in towards turn number 8. And of course, it's still Erin Barber in that leading spot there, ahead of Ola Postrup in second, and Klopman still in that top 3. And of course, Vince Peters behind Benjamin de Pape, looking for a move into turn number 9. Up the inside goes Vince Peters, should get that move complete, and now pop himself up into that top 4. But of course, a bit of a shame there for Peters on the start, of course, down to turn 3, lost a couple of positions, and has probably lost a bit of confidence there, I think.
And the problem is as well, you've just said about look at the conditions, the shine off the circuit where the puddles are and everything. That looks wetter online, it looks damp online and really wet offline. Unlike earlier where it looked just damp off the line and drying online, it's kind of different now. Look, that racing line there is not dry at all. That is not drying. That is just less wet than the outer part of the circuit. And in fact, I don't even think there is a line. I just think it's the spray of all the cars following each other up towards turn 3 then. There's a couple of them going side by side in towards 3. This is down with Bayet. Oh, a bit of a wiggle on the exit of turn 2 there. And Van Dijk already out of this race. We've already lost Van Dijk from this one.
Of course, I don't think Van Dijk actually started. He was
we
down at the bottom before. So we head our way down to turn 4 now. This is Michael Van Look there, going very deep and goes straight on at turn 4. And of course, there's P5 earlier on and now dropped all the way down below. I think probably P15, of course, is leading the AM category now. All the way near the back. A big shame there for Michael Van Look.
Yeah, this is just... These conditions are worse than what we had in race 1 and practice and qualifying. Just looks like it's starting to brighten up a little bit, but these drivers really struggling out there. This is, Van Look not make a single mistake in that first race. This is big off there. Not sure who that is. Who is off? It is Japan, you're correct. Who is off all on his own, I think. Has he just touched a bit of a puddle or something? That I didn't see any contact as he shoots off. Has to wait there before rejoining the circuit. We're going to get another look of this. This is Anton Dupin then, in towards the area, very close. I don't think that has it. So has the tap started a slide and he's just not been able to catch it? That's maybe the question.
It's a bit of a weird one indeed. Of course, a big shame there for Anton Dupin, who drops down to P22 in this race. As we'll see another replay, I think, heading through. Yeah, and this is Dupin again. Of course, just losing the rear completely and bounces into the barriers and, of course, getting a little bit stuck on the gravel momentarily, but gets the car back underway as we are on board here with Dupin. I think this is a replay again. So let's see. Does he get a bit of a tap? No, I don't think he does. I can't see any sort of tap from behind, so I think it was just very close to contact and then just lost the car on his own as they went through. Turn number 8 as this is Dupin again, and of course looking a little bit further up here, Postrup is defending from Klopman into turn 4, and the rain has stopped again. It does not know what to do here in Austria, does it? It
doesn't know what to do, and this, you've got to love this about the Red Bull Ring here in the Styrian Mountains, and what a chance for Klopman to have a look up the inside. Different lines being taken. Peters is right back in this as well, and Barber's not pulled away from anybody. But look at how wet that is, and you're going to see this while it's not raining. You're going to see it just dry out a little bit more now. And one mistake here, like we said, Van Look didn't make a mistake all race 1. It's wetter, mistakes creep in, and this is testament at the moment to Barber. He doesn't need to be electric here and set the world alight pace-wise. He just needs to do what he's doing, and that is controlling this race.
Of course, a brilliant job so far as we enter lap 4 now. We're 5 minutes into this 30-minute race, and still Barber has that lead ahead of Postrup and Klopman, defending now from Peters as they head their way up to turn 1. Do we see a move here from Vince Peters? He thinks about it, commits to it, backs out as they head their way into the braking zone, knowing that is quite not the move just yet, as we do see Klopman there taking the fastest lap of the race as we head our way back up to turn 3. Great run here for Cohen and Klopman now on the back of Ola Postrup. Could try and look through for second place as they head their way up to the turn 3 braking. So will we see a move for second? I think Klopman's got to think about it. No, backs off, but I think, you know, in the dry conditions, I think Klopman would have gone for that. But I think the drivers have to be a little bit more cautious heading into some of those braking zones in the wet weather.
Yeah, 100%. Clays, I think, has just had a drive-through penalty. He's come in and out straight away, so he's dropped down to 22nd place on the track. Van Look having a bit of a fight here for 14th and 15th. Seeing him squabbling as Postrup gets very close to the back of Barber there. And look at it now, the blue skies, bit of light cloud around, and all of a sudden you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have thought that the rain would be around because of how beautiful it looks so far. But yeah, interesting so far. And like you say, in the dry, Klopman probably looks for a move up the inside there. Probably thinks of being a bit later on the brakes, get a nose up the inside and have a look. But these conditions, no, not even second guessing that. He's just maybe pulling out of the spray to make sure that he doesn't brake late and end up in the back of Postrup. We saw in race 1, didn't we? Well, I think it was Clays. You know, end up speeding up through turn 3 to avoid the 3 cars that was turning into the corner.
I mean, I think the top 4 here have got a lot more pace to use, but they're just being cautious. They don't want to end up spinning or getting into contact. So I think they're just playing it really cautious here, a little bit off their ideal pace, and then of course once it starts to dry up, they can explore a bit more with that pace.
I think this is great race management from Barber. Peters has gone the fastest lap of the race so far, but I think this is great race management from Barber here. He's not doing anything electric. He's not doing anything that's, you know, making us go, oh wow, what pace he's got in the wet. He's just controlling everything.
Yeah. And he's doing a really good job at it as well, as this is going to be Joran Englund in P7 at the moment, looking to try and just close back up to Matt Strand, who's also had a really good start, currently running in the top 6. Of course, Englund has got a lot of time to make up if he wants to catch up to the top 6, but also has a nice buffer over Matthias Satij in P8, so if he makes a mistake or two, he doesn't have to worry too much about losing that 7th spot as we head our way back down to turn 4, and I think Peters is right on the back of Klopman as well as they enter the braking zone, as this will be Kimber Haight as well, looking to defend from Lucas Romano, who started 15th place. So I think the shameful thing is for Romano, he's got the pace, but of course that mistake at the start, he couldn't do much with it, could he?
No, he couldn't do much with it, and it's just kind of cost him a little bit now. You're seeing that track just starting to dry, it's getting very bright, but like you say, Romano, yeah, just a shame for him at the start really, but Peters now has dropped well off the back of Klopman. Yeah, heavily off the back of Klopman, so he's had a moment somewhere. Oh, he's under pressure here from De Pape. And I think we're going to see what happened at the moment. So this is Peters then coming down towards turn 4 in the slipstream of Klopman. Is he just going to go straight on like we've seen at turn 4? Oh, massive moment under the braking.
Yeah, and I think he just about loses the car as well, but manages to collect it. Might be a slight bit of contact here. This is on board with Vince Peters now, heading down to turn 4, goes to the outside. All you can see, locks the rear zone under braking, and then that slides him into Cohen Klopman, and luckily doesn't get into major contact with anyone, but that could have been a lot worse for him if he did get into contact with Klopman or even De Pape, who he was battling with. So now Peters has got so much work to do, it's going to be hard for him to catch up to the top 3. This is Satij and Verhey having their little battle, and that'll be a bit of contact there to the back of Satij's car. You did see a bit of that rear bumper pop in a bit.
He did a little bit, and yeah, Peters, you know, that's going to cost him massively. How many mistakes have we seen into turn 4 tonight? That's a big question there, but Satij there just getting in front, and then there was a bit of a bump on the rear bumper, and you did see it pop just a little bit. In towards turn 3 they come now, and guess what? The rain is falling once again, so the track is just going to get wetter. I have to tip my hat to these drivers tonight. They haven't known what conditions are going to be thrown at them. And it's not really, you know, it's not like it's been really wet, because it has dried quite quickly, as we're seeing De Pape here go side by side with that of Strand for 5th and 6th place at the moment. Peters just in front of them, and Benjamin De Pape manages to stay ahead in 5th place, as Romano now moves ahead of Detach for P9.
Yep, an absolute brilliant battle so far by so many different drivers on the grid, even those down at the back who might be a little bit off the pace, still having some great battling on the circuit at the moment, as of course we have lost Van Hoot as well, as Van Luk's made another mistake, and this time is in the barriers. Oh, what a shame it has been for Van Luk, but the thing is, once you make one big mistake, it just drops your confidence for the rest of the race, and I think, Van Luk's going to drop down below Heremans as well.
Plays is back into the pit lane. That looks like he's returned back into the pit lane. Oh! Nearly there from Depan. Postrup taking the lead. Barber and Postrup are going hammer and tongue at the moment. Exchanging places into turn 1. There's Barber back up the inside through the exit of turn 1. So the top 3 now getting pretty close, and Postrup putting Barber under some pressure. Only felt a little bit of pressure in that first race by that of Peters at turn 4. And here comes Postrup to the outside. Is he possibly going to think of braking a little earlier? The up and under. Barber's very, very wise to that and just positions his car absolutely where he needs to. Brilliantly, like you said, for Van Luk, when you make that one mistake, the head can drop. This is the replay of it. This is Postrup, and Barber then. So Barber goes defensive. Did he just have a little moment there, traction-wise, coming out the final corner as he pulls to the inside to defend? That's what's allowed Postrup to get past him just briefly, momentarily. Look, the car is just slightly in front. And Barber there done very well to take so much curb, including that very small piece of sausage curb, and not really unsettle the car.
He did indeed, as this is the replay of Marco Van Luk, of course, just trying to get the car out the gravel. Heading out to turn 6, we'll see if we can find the replay here. This is Van Luk now, so heading out of turn 5, into turn 6 at the left-hander. What happens to Marco Van Luk? Hits the curb and, just slides off at full speed. He wasn't going to control that. You could be prime Max Verstappen. You're not going to stop that car heading off onto the gravel. So we'll collect it, and unfortunately, we see down in 20th position, as this is going to be, of course, Barber still in the lead ahead of Ola Postrup, and we'll see again. Oh, this time Postrup makes a bit of a mistake, I think, heading out of that final corner, and that does bring Klopman right back in it now, and that gap's only 0.6.
Stop raining again. But how easy is that for Van Look, by the way, just to drop, and it was the smallest amount of wheel on the curb. Round the car goes, it does not agree with it. Nope, the rain back to falling as Postrup wide over the yellow sausage curb there, does well to keep it going. And Van Look here, yeah, race 1 great for him, not so good here in race 2. But Peters again, I just want to point out, he's not had a great second race while it's been wetter. And once again, Pete proving that he maybe isn't as comfortable in the really wet conditions in these Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, that could certainly be the case. I mean, he, in the dry, he's been quick. He's been probably, after Barber, the quickest by a decent chunk. But in these conditions, he's just not looked settled once in the races. Once it dried up, he was fine. But then once it gets wet again, Peters really does start to struggle. So not ideal at all for him as Postrup looks to close in. And down at turn 4, he's looking to get even more wet once again. So it's changing in different parts of the circuit. Turn 1 up to turn 3, decently dry or drying. But then once you get down to turn 4 on the braking zone, it gets really, really dark and really, really wet. So it's really, it's going to be hard to try and get yourself adjusted to those conditions. There's all very wide there for Ola Postrup and also Cohen Klopman as well.
Has it all of a sudden just got wetter here, because they all looked very tentative through that whole section of the circuit. None of them looked like they were sort of fully confident. Moderately wet, so no, it's not any wetter than it has been. Although, is it to that higher scale of moderately wet? Because they do look like they're sort of tiptoeing through these corners a little bit more.
Yeah, look at turn 10. It's really wet, isn't it? They're really struggling. You can see the rain starting to heavily come down on the circuit. Massive puddles on that curb as we head our way back up to turn number 1 once again. And we'll see if we get any moves for the lead of the races. We do have Strand as well in the back of the pape for P5. They're closing within a 10th. But let's see if we have any more for the leaders. This is going to be Strand on the outside of the pape into turn 1. Oh, and that'll be Strand going straight on at the first corner. And I think we've seen now multiple times the outside of that first corner is not the way to go when looking for a move.
No, it's too treacherous out there. Postrup still within that 4/10 off Barber at the moment, coming out of turn 3. But so far around this circuit, it is very difficult to judge where you can place that car. And yeah, it's getting wetter for these drivers, and that middle sector in particular looks very treacherous, and that's where they're trying to do what they're going to do. Peters can't really drop the pape either, can we just say as well. He can't get back onto the rear of Klopman and drop the pape then at the moment. But Barber, he's doing what he needs to. Yeah, look how dark it is now as well. We're seeing the lights take over this circuit a bit more from the cars than the natural lights out there as well. So it is really getting dark here, as these top 3 have been this close for majority of this race, and this has been brilliant to see between the 3 of them. But once again, Barber just managing it absolutely to perfection.
Of course, but I think the one thing Aaron Barber's got to be careful of is if he does make that one mistake and goes a little bit too light on power in some corners, and it does allow Postrup to go through, he's got a lot of work to do to get himself back into that top spot. As we can see here, Postrup right on the rear here of Aaron Barber into the final corner to begin lap 10. Oh, a bit of a tap there. Postrup goes really wide. Luckily collects the car and doesn't hit that water. If he went into the water, that could have been a big spin for Ola Postrup as we head our way back up to turn 1. And you can see Aaron Barber there, I think, didn't really push at all because he let off so much heading into the final corner. Postrup pretty much pushed him through, but now Klopman looks to be on the attack, goes to the outside here of Ola Postrup now down towards turn 3 at the top of the hill. Let's see if we can get a change here for second place. Klopman does get ahead of Postrup for now. Can Postrup defend that position as they head their way into turn 3 side by side once again? Klopman turns in, they make contact, and it's pretty much a carbon copy of what happened in the last race between the 2.
It is indeed, and Klopman there, they're not able to get past Postrup at the moment. Barber can breathe a sigh of relief, but at the moment, are we seeing what Barber's got? Is he just controlling this race? If he gets overtaken by one of these drivers, will he be able to put the foot down to the inside of turn 4, making it very, very tight and narrow? And we've seen cars really struggle at turn 4 tonight, but Klopman is trying to find any piece of circuit that he can to get past out of Postrup. As Van Look down in 20th place, a lap ahead of Colin. They are the last 2 runners in this race, because we've lost a few more drivers through this one. But it's Barber from Postrup from Klopman, Peters to Pape, your top 5 then. And this is your race leader. Strand P6 is with that of De Pape. And then a bit of a gap back as Van Luck now moves up into 19th place. So he's got work to do. England is currently the leader in the AM category, down in 7th place in this race. Kind of in no man's land. He's 4 seconds behind Strand and 5 seconds up the road from Colleen then. As Postrup going very wide out of turn 9, managing to not lose too much, but look at the puddles on the outside curbing there. Yeah,
it's horrible. It's going to be so treacherous. If you go wide there, you're going to end up going round, or at least really, really wide, and just aquaplaning along the whole curb. This is John England here in P7, of course. Got a P2 in the last race in the AM category. Now looking to try and take a first place. Been a very, very good weekend for him indeed here in at the Red Bull Ring. And Verstraeten being in 3rd and Van Luck being in P6, that really does help close that championship up as well, as they're only around 20 points apart, 17 to be exact. So it's going to be very close between Van Luck and Verstraeten heading into Zolder at this current rate, as that would be, I think, there. Sofro going a little bit wide, heading out of turn 1. And now here comes Postrup and Klopman once again, battling for 2nd place. So head their way down to turn 4. Klopman's going to be on the outside of Postrup this time around. Is there anything that Klopman can do? I don't think there is. Postrup goes a little bit deep. Klopman nearly taps the back of him as they head their way through. But still, what a brilliant battle in between our top 3. They got so close on every single lap, and they've only made a light bit of contact once.
Yeah, Klopman there just braked a little earlier over Postrup, and you could just see him slow down. But they've reeled in Barber once again after their fights from a lap or two ago. Look at them, they're as close as they've been all race yet again. Verstraeten then gets ahead of Bayet down for 10th and 11th. So that's a change in AM. Verstraeten there getting into 2nd place in AM over Kim Bayet there then. And this is what happened to Bayet down in the up towards turn 3. Down towards turn 4, sorry. They come now. And just the same old mid-corner, not stopping. Runs a little bit into the gravel and loses all momentum. Turn 4's been the trickiest corner of this race tonight.
It certainly has. It's been a really hard corner to get right. Many people are making mistakes there, as this is going to be Barber and Postrup in towards turn number 1. Barber's having to defend this one this time around. Postrup's going to get a decent run out of the first corner. Up towards turn 3 we go. The gap is just under 2.5 tenths of a second. We could easily see a move for the lead here from Ola Postrup. Of course, hasn't had a win yet this season. It would be perfect if he could now. As we head to turn 3, the gap's less than 1/10 of a second to the outside. Goes Ola Postrup, looking to try and battle around the outside. Slight bit of contact. They both go deep. Klopman now tries to go up the inside and get the up and under. Couldn't do anything at all as they head their way back down to turn number 4 here. Can Klopman try and make a move for 2nd place? I don't think he can. But yet again, we're seeing brilliant battling from our top 3. Peters goes a little bit deep and loses another couple of positions here.
He does indeed, but Postrup and Klopman there just couldn't take advantage of Barbie getting a pouring out the final corner. Klopman too much over the curb at turn 3. That lost him momentum on that of Postrup. And Peters once again has had a nightmare. Look at the rain falling there. You can see it in the puddles just bouncing off them. And Peters has lost yet another couple of places, struggling when the track is really wet. And it's been as wet as this all race so far. But Klopman at the moment is the man that you have to say is putting them under some pressure, as hopefully we can pick them back up momentarily. We've just seen the cars come through the middle sector right now, and been an interesting race to say the least. But this is as dark and as wet as it's been all race. Look at the 3 leaders there, as Klopman was very wide coming in towards turn 9.
Very close indeed. And if anybody can double check on the numbers, I've done a bit of adding up, and I think that if Erin Barber wins this race, I think he's the champion before we even head into the final round, as it's 52 points you can score maximum over a race weekend, I believe, and at the moment the gap will be over 60 points. So I think if Barber can take this victory, I think he's got the championship wrapped up.
Well, there we go, but he's got to take the victory if that's the case, and he's got to make sure he sticks to this race lead. He's coming under immense pressure, and don't forget, Postrup's already gained 1 place at the very end of the race, so he's going to try and do it again. If not, if he can't do it any earlier, that's for sure. As here then comes Barber, your race leader, from Postrup and Klopman, 2nd and 3rd. Klopman's just lost a bit of momentum over this last lap, hasn't he? He's dropped a little further back off the leaders than what he'd have probably liked. As at the moment, De Pape 4th place, Strand in 5th, with Peters down in 6th place now.
Yeah, not been a good race at all, or at least a good event here for Vince Peters. A P3 and a P6. Normally he's been on the podium both times around, of course, as been on the podium in race 1 at Spa, race 2 at Spa, then got 2 wins in Imola, got a win in Hockenheim, and also another podium in Hockenheim. So it's not been good at all here for Vince Peters, as this is a replay into turn 3. Does anything happen here to Peters? Oh, loses it under traction, and we don't see that very often from anyone at turn 3. And also clatters the barriers, so probably has got a bit of damage there as well.
Yeah, just carrying a bit of damage possibly for his troubles today, and it was just all under the acceleration, wasn't it? It's all about throttle control in the wet, especially when the cars don't run the traction control like the Porsche Cup cars do. So very interesting here is Postrup once again very close to that of Barber, but even closer to that of the puddles that nearly ended his race here, and that's lost all momentum. You just see how he's got out the throttle and the accelerator to not go into the puddles and make sure the car steers through that final corner. So again, Barber at the moment just, being able to breathe a sigh of relief as it's the drivers around him that are making the mistakes.
It certainly is, as we head our way up to turn number 3. That gap in the lead is 0.8 of a second back to Postrup, and then we do see as well the Tijan Romano having a battle here for P11. So they're heading through towards turn 1, I believe, at the moment, and looking further back as well. I think that was Van Leept there. Something happening to him. I did see his name light up momentarily. So we head our way back down to turn 4 here, and you can see the track is starting to get wetter again, I think.
Yeah, looks to be the case. The spray looks a little worse. It still is very dark. It's been wetter than drier in this race, the opposite of race 1 really, where we saw it dry out a bit more than it got wet. But them puddles becoming increasingly thicker and thicker as this race goes on. Peters! Oh! Postrup, sorry! And into the wall, he's going to go! Bang! Hits it up! And Postrup there, all on his own! He's actually missed the barrier, I do believe. He's actually managed to miss the barrier and go into the escape roads for the alternate layout to one of the circuits here. Somehow he's managed to miss it all, but just on his own. And that could just be the easiest bit, the fact that the track may be wetter, just pushing that little bit too hard. And this is a replay of it. But for Postrup then, let's take a look. This is on board, and we're just seeing him come through. Did he touch the curb? Did he touch the curb? But this is impressive. Look at this. I think he's gone straight into the wall, and he's narrowly avoided it. That is brilliant.
Barely missed the barriers. I'm very close indeed. How has he missed the barriers there?
Well, this is it. I think he's touched the curb here, a bit like Van Look earlier. Let's take a look.
No.
It's close, but no. I think he's just lost that all on his own. And
oh my!
Oh dear!
What is that?
I tell you what, he's been close. He's been close to Barber. He's been close to Puddles. He's now been close to the wall.
What can he get close to next? I don't have a clue. But the good thing is, for our AM category, that moves England now up into the top 6. But Postrup's still going to try and challenge as well as Strand now goes up into a podium place. So yeah, Matt Strand, who's not really finishing, I don't think he even got a top 6 this season yet. He's down. Where is he in the standings? Yeah, P12.
P12, so he's not had the best of standings, but this is where the wet races can provide massive dramas, as it looks like the sun once again makes an appearance here, and DePape now trying to get the up and under on that off strand and to the outside of the turn 6 they're going to come, but DePape looking left and right, and he's trying to go any way through he possibly can. This is so close and so tight between 3rd and 4th of Strand and DePape. Peters is just in the background, and this is great driving here as now Strand goes a little deep and DePape back on the inside. He'll have the outside for the next part who gets a slide mid-corner. What a fight this is turning out to be.
Oh, this is brilliant here. DePape and Strand here both looking to try and take their first podiums of the championship here at round 5, race number 2. And they're definitely fighting for that podium very, very hard indeed as we head into the final corner again. 4 minutes to go in this race, not long at all left, and you can see the track started to dry up, and yet again a brilliant run here by Benjamin DePape, and you can see Strand going to the inside to try and defend it. Does DePape send it to the outside? He'll go for it. DePape goes to the outside. Strand breaks a little bit later as they head their way into turn 1 again. Let's see what's going to happen here as they head their way back up to turn 3. DePape's right on the back here of Matt Strand, looking to try and take a podium here, or at least take that podium position for now. He pulls to the outside line as they head their way up to the top of the hill now. Can DePape take this podium away from Matt Strand? Let's see who breaks later. They both break very similarly, and for now Matt Strand holds it, but DePape on the outside gets better traction and takes that 3rd place. A brilliant move there by Benjamin DePape.
Good bit of driving there from Benjamin De Pape. They've got Peters in the background as well to match Strand. Going to try and come back at De Pape. The sun is out, and with it being warm here at the Red Bull Ring, that track is just going to dry a little bit quicker with the temperatures being in the 20s. It is making the track dry just that little bit faster with all these cars circulating. There is 21 cars still going around this circuit, and now Peters is on the back of Strand and De Pape for that final podium position. Romano is now into the pits, so he's had a poor end to this race, and now Klopman's putting Barber under pressure. Look at this, to the outside of turn 9, Klopman on Barber. Barber's parked the car absolutely perfect. Klopman was overtaken by Peters around the outside in the first race. He's now going to try and return the favour to Barber, can't do so and has to back out of that one in towards the final corner, and Barber once again hangs on by the skin of his this is just fantastic.
Oh, a couple of laps to go here in this race, probably 2, I think, maximum. And there we do see Cohen Klopman looking to try and fight for that lead. Bit of a poor exit though, still has a decent run down to turn 3. You can see Barber there just moving over to the left-hand side. And yet again, under the slipstream, under the spray, is Cohen Klopman looking to try and take the lead of this race, as we only have a couple of opportunities left for him to do so. Does he pull to the inside? He's got nothing to lose at this point as we head our way through. Into turn number 3 we go. Barber's had a really poor entry and a poor exit. Klopman's on the back of him once again as they head their way down to turn 4, but I don't think Klopman's quite close enough to make a send this time around.
Neither do I. Just noticing that Strand is down to P8 as Klopman looking up the inside. Thinks of maybe having a send up the inside to turn 4. We've seen drivers lock up and go deep there. And again, he gets that looks to be a bit of a better entry, but not the greatest of exit for Klopman this time around. But Strand down into P8 now. He's lost out to Colin. So not sure what's happened to Strand there. That's put Peters onto the back of De Pape. And Klopman a little wide through turn 6. This is a replay of what has happened to Strand. Peters on the back of him as they head down towards turn 9. Is he about to get a wallop from the back?
Oh.
It was Peters, who got all out of shape himself, has then gone into the back of Strand, and Matt Strand facing the wrong way. What a shame.
And we head our way into turn 9 again. And I think this might be no, we'll have one more lap after this, won't we? As we head our way into the final quarter. Barber's going to have the lead ahead of Cohen Klopman now. They head to the line and they have one more lap to go in this race. What can Aaron Barber do here to defend from Klopman? What can Klopman do here to try and take that lead away as we head our way into turn number 1? Can Klopman make another send down to turn 3? It's going to be close, and I don't think he's quite got the run, has he here, Matthew?
No, I don't think he got the run out to turn 1 there. I think he hit the sausage curb on the apex too hard. Lap times back into the 42, so the track is getting as dry as we've seen. This is another replay then of that Peters attack on Strand. And look, you just see him get out of shape. He was actually on the grass. There was a bit of dirt kicked up there. So, yeah, you're not going to brake on the grass and on the curb and be able to turn the car, and it's got too twitchy. Klopman's just lost out, though, here out of turn 3 as well, hasn't he? He's lost out through turn 1. Barber looks like he's got this one covered. Klopman needed to be close to have a look into 3, maybe into turn 4. He's got close again under braking. And at the moment, just putting Barber as he gets a slide on the traction out the corner. Yeah, I think Barber's got this one covered now. There's not really any corners you're going to lunge on.
Of course, and I mean, after so many podiums this season, I think bar one race, Aaron Barber has been absolutely dominant, and I believe with this victory as well, this will put him to win the championship, because no one's got anywhere near him in this race in terms of trying to close the points gap. I think it'll be easily over 50 points heading into Zolder, so it's been a brilliant run here by Aaron Barber this whole championship. I mean, after round 1, I think we all knew that Aaron Barber would certainly be the one to try and take this championship and take it with ease as he heads his way now into turn 9 and then also into turn number 10. The checkered flag will be waiting him as he exits to the line, and he'll also take the championship along with a win here in race 2. It's been superb by Aaron Barber, 2 in 2, and takes the championship. There's no better way to win round 5 than that, is there?
No better way at all. What a great drive from Barber in both races here in tricky conditions. Strand trying to make up a place or two here on what could have been his first podium of the season. Unfortunate for him. There's Matthew Colleen then, who's coming across for P6. Decent result. De Pep got P3, Peters P4, Porsche at P5 in the end. Colleen P6. England, your AM winner in this race from Strand. Verstraeten, second place in AM before Bayet, P3 in AM, rounding out the top 10 as well. Great racing though, and hats off to all the drivers that's taken part tonight. Them conditions was not easy.
No, definitely not. I think it's definitely been the hardest race they've had here in this championship, and maybe the hardest races they've had in a long time in general here on iRacing, because it's not been an easy one at all. But congratulations to all who finished the race. Of course, we did lose 5 or 6 drivers, unfortunately, in that one, as this is Ola Postra. Did he make another mistake? We'll see. As he heads into turn 9, what happens here?
He's gone deep.
Just goes, pretty much just goes straight into turn 9.
Gone deep. There's another moment, as was that earlier in the race, actually, because that looked like it was Strand possibly recovering from the incident with Peters in the background there. So I wonder if that was just after Strand had recovered there. Postrup went deep, and you have to feel for Postrup, really. You know, what could he have maybe done to challenge Barber at the end of that race, because he was looking racy all that second race, and just made that mistake on his own, didn't he?
Yeah, a big shame indeed for Ola Postrup, who's looked really strong in this event. And we'll see if shortly we can hear from any of our top 3 or any of our drivers here who would like to come in for an interview, because it's been a really, really good race indeed. It is Matthias Satish, who's got lots of damage on the back of that car. So no wonder he's finished so far down. But it's been a brilliant race indeed. My favourite event so far of the championship, and we've still got one more to go, of course, in a couple weeks' time. And hopefully we'll see the results pop up shortly.
Yeah, Zolder to come in a couple of weeks' time. What a track to end the season on! What an arena to end this fantastic championship as the race 2 results we get on screen now. It was Barber then who took the race with 0.2 of a second from that of Cohen Klopman. What a drive from Klopman in this one. Benjamin DePate P3 with Vince Peters P4 after an earlier mistake. Just didn't have the pace in the really wet conditions tonight, did Peters. Ollie Postrup had that moment. He went down to P5. Matthew Collin was P6. Joran England was your winner in AM and P7 overall before Matt Strand P8. Verstraeten was P9, second place in AM, and Kim Bayet rounding out that top 10 and third place in AM.
Of course, absolutely brilliant. And we do have Aaron Babber in the interview waiting room, so should we drag him up? I think we will do.
I think we should, yes, I agree.
So, Erin, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Hey, guy. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Hey.
Oh, so brilliant race. I mean, I believe you took the championship as well after that double victory. So how does it feel? Obviously, so far this season, it's been a really good one. You've took, I think, a win in every race bar 2, or bar 4 at least. It's been pretty much simple, hasn't it, really, for yourself?
Yeah, at Imola we had like a contact with Koen, and then it ruined the first and the second race, because then we stuck in the second race like P4, P5. But yeah, apart from that, it was a good race, good championship. I enjoyed it very much, especially this one in the rain. But it's tough, it's not easy. But I saw people making a lot of mistakes. They were pushing too much, not carrying enough speed out of the corners. They were overshooting corners left and right. So I just managed my pace. And then when I needed to defend, I needed to defend. So that's what I did.
Yeah, definitely. Worked very well for yourself indeed. I mean, what would you say was the key thing in that race to make sure you could keep that lead? Was it about making sure you could defend well, or just trying to control everyone behind?
Just control everyone behind, and then also adapt to the rain, because the track was changing very fast. I saw that, and in the rain, I mean, I have not so much experience in the rain, but you see, you need to adapt fast, because otherwise, if you push a little bit too much, then you can make a mistake that can cost you the race or even the championship.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, next time out we head to Zolder. What are your thoughts on that circuit?
Well, the last week I only driven Zolder in the officials, and I went from like 8,000 iRating to 9,000, something like this. So we had like me and Dumitru, we were like the fastest there from all the officials that we did. So it's home track, if I'm not good there, then yeah, I delete the game.
Anything from you, Matthew?
Just finally from me, really, just talk us through them conditions a little bit, because it looks like you've already touched on how it was changing all the time. How do you as a driver adapt to that?
First of all, you need to be really, really careful and not brake late. this car is all about tire management. If you cook the tires, even in the rain, if you abuse the tires a lot, then you suffer through the stint. And it's like a vicious circle, you know. Once you make a mistake, then you make another one, then you make another one, then you need some laps to let the tires do their thing and then cool down again. So just consistency, not trying to put like world records lap times, but just consistency. So yeah, that's the thing to how you drive in the rain, I think.
Well, fantastic race from yourself, Bob. Congratulations as well, if that is. We do believe that is the championship wrapped up for yourself, and we can't wait to see what you can do out there at Zolder.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Guys. So once again, thanks for the broadcast. I would like to thank all the guys that organized the league. It's really good organized. Apex TV for broadcasting it. You guys do a very professional job. So I would also like to thank everyone at Vortex, especially Mr. Dirk Bouts, the owner. And last of all, I would like to thank Dumitru for practicing with me, not only on Red Bull Ring, but in all the tracks lately with the Porsche Cup. He's a really great guy. We learn a lot from each other, and I think for me this is the most important thing. It's been a really difficult year for me because I lost two people very close to me not so long ago. So yeah, if I won the championship, then I dedicate this win to them.
Brilliant. Couldn't have said it better myself. Congratulations, Barber, and
Thank
well
you,
done. We can now talk with Cohen Klopman as well, who was P2 in the second race. But Cohen, race 1 didn't exactly go your way. Race 2, a lot better from yourself. You nearly managed to get a hold of that race win.
Yeah, it's almost. Yeah, it's just in the end, Arendt was was much slower than in the beginning of the race. So maybe he burned through his tires. I don't know, but once Ola spun, I got up to him very quickly.
It was a very interesting set of races as well. The conditions played a massive part in them, but you kind of had two different races, didn't you? Race 1 where you went from the lead down to 4th. Race 2 where you was sat 3rd for quite a while until Postrup made his mistake.
Yeah, race 1 was just I think I still had the speed, but like too many mistakes. And once Arendt went past, Vince went past in the same corner almost. And then I made a small mistake in the final corner. I just didn't touch the curb correctly. Like if you don't touch the curb in the last corner, you're just going wide. That's how this track works. So not good. Just bad driving on my part.
Just talk us through the conditions out there, because it looked race 2 was worse than race 1, but the conditions were changing every single lap. How was they for you?
To be honest, I didn't really felt it. Like it's just low grip circuit, and lap times go up, go down, but there's not really much you do to change your line actually.
Nathan, anything you want to add?
No questions from me, but of course a big congratulations on that podium again, and of course I think now you pop yourselves up into 2nd in the championship. So of course there's nothing more you can do now to close to Aaron Barber, but of course you can still try and claim that 2nd next time out in Zolder. So is there anyone you'd like to shout out quickly, Cohen, before you go?
Of course you guys, organizers of the league, my competitors of course, because otherwise there will be no race. That's pretty much it.
Also, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you in the E2 room, and hopefully we'll see you again next time in Zolder.
Yep, I'll be there. Bye.
Bye. Oh, and there we are. What a brilliant night of action. Of course, brilliant to hear from our top 2 in those races as well. And well, next time it's Zolder we go to. I can't wait for that race. What a race it will be. Brilliant. Yeah. Can't wait.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And let's see what the weather's going to do at Zolder as well. Because if we get a bit of weather like we've had tonight, that's going to make it even more interesting. It
certainly will. But I think that is all from us here tonight on the Apex Racing TV channel. Of course, thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us for the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup Benelux 2024. We'll be back next time in a couple of weeks for our final round at Zolder. So we haven't got long to go until then. So thank you all for joining, of course, to Matthew and Josh as well in the commentary and production booth. And we'll see you again next time for some more action. Good night.
Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.